I remember in the late 80s, after it took about 10,000 people dying of AIDS before Ronald Reagan even mentioned the term. Remember when AIDS first struck and people were dropping? A whole generation of creative sorts were wiped out across the country. Here in Atlanta, I cannot tell you, back in 86, 87, 88, 89, how many funerals I attended. And it's not about me, of course, but I'm just saying the awful horror of what was going on and how every filthy, stinking church in Atlanta, with one or two exceptions, were saying, well, this is God's punishment. And on and on and on and on. The reason I bring this up, because when it looked like nobody was going to do anything, because what the hell, it's just a bunch of queers dying. And then this group all of a sudden materialized out of who knows where. ACT UP. You remember ACT UP? Does anybody? That seems like a million years ago, doesn't it? But all of a sudden, here they were, young guys and girls, determined. And they would not be quiet. And they came out with the buttons and the T-shirts. Silence equals death. Remember? Do you remember? You got to be over a certain age to remember this. I remember. Because I watched several communities in Atlanta just be decimated by that disease. People I'd see on Monday who had a bad cough, and on Thursday they'd be dead. Silence equals death. And that keeps popping into my head here over the past 4, 5, 6 years. Why is America remaining silent? Why do we do nothing about this? Whatever this is. And you know what I'm talking about. This whole overarching attitude of corporate capitalist America. Yay! The worker, the average man and woman, boo. And we sit here. We goddamn sit here. Well, the young kids in ACT UP had it right. Silence equals death. You don't have to smash in windows. You don't have to beat people up. You need to make your voice heard. You know what I'm talking about. From people from the American Way. On his show today, right-wing talk radio host Rush Limbaugh accused the Democratic Party of lending its full support, quote, quote, to Jared Loughner, the man accused of murdering 6 people and critically wounding Representative Gabriel Giffords and injuring 14 others in Tucson this weekend. In response to calls for increased responsibility in political discourse, Limbaugh said the Democratic Party, quote, is attempting to find anybody but Loughner to blame. And Loughner understands he's got a political party to do everything he can, plus the local sheriff do everything they can to make sure he's not convicted of murder. Michael Keegan, President of People for the American Way, issued the following statement, quote, as people across the country grieve and reflect, Rush Limbaugh has accused an entire political party and a respected law enforcement officer of supporting a mass murderer. This offensive and irresponsible claim deserves to be met with harsh condemnation by Democrats and Republicans alike. Many of us have called in recent days for the toning down of the irresponsible and dishonest rhetoric that has become pervasive in our political debate. Limbaugh's ridiculous reaction to this tragedy is proof of the need for a return to responsibility, end quote. Limbaugh went home to his new wife after this happened, stripped down to his boxers, opened up a huge jar of peanut butter and a bottle of olives, poured himself a great big glass of $500 a bottle wine, sat back on his large fat ass and said, baby, these people out here love me.